Hello and welcome to Norwood News. Today is Friday, February 8th, and I'm your host, Krista McDonald. Wednesday night saw a very emotional and highly anticipated school committee meeting. Teachers, principals, and administrators crowded into the school committee meeting room at the Savage Center. After the meeting was called to order, the next agenda item was public forum. Two members of the Norwood Public School staff voiced their thoughts on the current state of the budget.
The Willet is a vital part of Norwood Public Schools, no greater or less valuable than any of our colleagues in any of 5 elementaries, the Coakley, or the high school. Our students deserve all of us. And what our youngest citizens, the students of Norwood Public Schools, do not deserve is to have the burden of unnecessary and destructive cuts placed on their backs. So we hope the viewers tonight hear their reason, whether it's kindergarten or football or music or fine arts or class size with Coakley. Find your reason to get out and vote for the override. We hope people watching tonight support the operational override and continue to make Norwood Public Schools a great place to grow.
The Willett Early Childhood Center was established to give a voice to these children who don't get to vote, who don't get to come to meetings because they're home in bed right now. I also want you to know that we advocate for each and every student in the town of Norwood, starting when they walk through our doors until they get out of high school. Many of the students who I have taught over 28 years here in Norwood are probably watching this. I have some of their children, and I ask them to step up to the plate too.
Shortly after public forum ended, the committee began to discuss the over $2 million needed to be cut from next year's budget in order to present a balanced budget to town meeting in May. The committee voted the following: a unanimous vote in favor of eliminating all middle school and high school clubs and activities, a 4-to-1 vote in favor of eliminating all extracurricular fine arts programs, a 4-to-1 vote in favor of eliminating middle school late buses, a unanimous vote to eliminate all freshman and junior varsity athletics, a 4-to-1 vote in favor of eliminating all varsity athletics, a 3-to-2 vote in favor of closing the Willett School, a 3-to-2 vote carried in favor of tabling further budget discussions until the next meeting. Although an operational override of $5.95 million is scheduled to be voted on Monday, June 3rd, town meeting is required to vote on a balanced fiscal year budget in May.
The administrative team and myself, Dr. Wyeth, Mrs. Ellis, were tasked with looking at how do we close this big gap. So basically we looked at lots of possible solutions, really tried to dig down, drill down. We were trying to find cuts that would be significant enough to start filling a big bucket. So the cuts we're talking about first are kind of the bigger cuts. The thought there is that when you have the big cuts, then you can fit smaller cuts around them and do it in a logical fashion.
School committee must prepare 2 budgets this year, one if the override passes and one if the override does not pass.
First of all, we have to walk into town meeting with a balanced budget, and that is by state law. It's something that's doable. The scary part is that if the override does not pass, despite cutting these, it does not fix the problem. Next year we'll be at about $650,000, have a $650,000 deficit. So there will be more cuts we will have to make next year. We cannot keep the level of service that we would have this year into next year or the next 5 years. None of these cuts are good. I think the only way that we're all sleeping at night is that we know that if the override passes, these were just a conversation.
The school committee is scheduled to meet again next Wednesday, February 13th, to continue budget cut discussions.
We need to finish those big cuts. We did not get all the way through them. I believe the last piece is talking about layoffs and teaching positions. So that'll be the last piece. We'll talk about next steps. The administrative team is going to be coming back together next week, starting to drill down on those first level of cuts to see where there's other associated cuts that go along with those. So that we're doing it kind of in a thoughtful, step-by-step way.
Thank you, Dave, and all of those who have been involved in this difficult process. We understand what you are doing is not easy, but the budget must be balanced. NCM will continue to follow this story up until the override vote on June 3rd. Stay tuned after this break to receive an update from Chief Brooks on their very busy week. Welcome back. It was a busy week for the men and women of the Norwood Police Department, beginning with a major drug arrest and followed by 2 fatal accidents. First, Chief Brooks shares details on the drug arrest last Saturday on Washington Street.
What occurred in that case is that our detectives were looking into a subject who we believe was selling fentanyl in Norwood. And they established surveillance, knowing who they were looking for, having a vehicle description, having a sense for who the target was. And they enlisted the aid of patrol officers, Officers Shore and Sweeney, who set up on their radio cars in the area to back up the detectives. The detectives spotted the target in the neighborhood, placed him under surveillance. They followed him for a short distance, and when he came to a stop, the detectives and uniformed officers rolled up on him and approached him, engaged him in some conversation, and eventually seized narcotics. The subject that they stopped was a Victor Villafane. He's 37 years old. He lives in the Rosendale section of Boston. But they seized over 20 grams of fentanyl. That amount of fentanyl is twice as much as Massachusetts law requires for a minimum mandatory prison sentence. He was also carrying crack cocaine, and he was also carrying 3 different types of pharmaceuticals. We allege that all of those were intended for distribution. And Mr. Villafane was cooperative when the detectives and officers rolled up on him. They placed him into custody. He was held at the Norwood Police Department all weekend and was arraigned in the Dedham District Court on Monday morning. We consider this a significant arrest. We believe Mr. Villafane was operating in the Norwood area and selling fentanyl to people who use narcotics here in Norwood. So my hat's off to the detectives as well as to the uniformed officers that helped them out. The detectives were Detectives Lopes and Green, as I mentioned before, Officers Shore and Sweeney, and then their Sergeant McDonough were all involved in the arrest, and they did a great job.
Then, early Sunday morning, tragedy struck Norwood. For more on the car accident, we send it back to the chief.
Saturday night, or really Sunday morning at 3 a.m., our units responded with Norwood Fire Department to a crash that occurred on Walpole Street at the intersection of Davis Avenue. Investigation showed that a car went out of control and collided up there. There was a single vehicle collision. The operator of the car is a 23-year-old man, Treov Rensford. He was at the scene outside the car when we arrived. His brother, 22, Tresor, was still in the car, critically injured. The 22-year-old passenger later passed away. Treov was transported to the hospital for treatment and later transferred to a Boston hospital to a trauma center because he needed that level of care. We've since arrested him for operating under the influence, motor vehicle homicide by reason of operating under the influence, negligent operations, and then some other minor motor vehicle infractions. The case is being investigated by officers of the Norwood Police Department. We're being assisted by the Massachusetts State Police, and of course, where this is a fatality, the Norfolk District Attorney's Office is heavily involved in the investigation. But those are the charges. Mr. Rensford was arraigned Monday, and Dedham District Court bail was set at the time, and he'll go to trial at some point down the road.
The busy week continued for the police department on Tuesday morning. A Norwood man was struck and killed by an outbound commuter rail train at Norwood Depot. Let's go to Chief Brooks for the details of the accident.
I'm Chief Bill Brooks of the Norwood Police Department. We're here at the Depot train station where unfortunately a man was struck and killed this morning by a train that was going outbound from the city. Apparently he was crossing the tracks when he was struck, but of course we're in the very early stages of the investigation, and we're looking for witnesses who may have seen something to come forward and talk to us. These matters are always investigated jointly by the Norwood Police Department and by the Transit Police and the Office of the Norfolk District Attorney. So those agencies are here now. The trains have been shut down in both directions. They're just now opening up. The MBTA is sending an inbound train that will be moving through here in the next couple of minutes, but Railroad Ave continues to be shut down, and the outbound track is still shut down for now, but again, we expect that to open soon.
Thanks, Chief. Great work by all the men and women of the Norwood Police and Fire Departments this week who responded to both accidents. We send our best wishes to the people and families impacted by those accidents. Stay tuned after this break to find out what is happening in your local government.
If you want to know what happened in Norwood this week, watch Norwood News. on Norwood Community Media, your home for all things Norwood.
Welcome back to Norwood News. At the Board of Selectmen meeting on Tuesday, the board received department updates from Chief Brooks and Chief Maurice. 3 public hearings were held for AMR Auto Holdings, who have applied for applications of Class 1 dealers licenses for the newly acquired BMW of Norwood, Prime Mazda, and Volkswagen of Norwood. After the department updates and public hearings, the board started the most important discussion of the evening.
As you know, this board last week voted to put the operational override question on the ballot in support of the budget balancing committee's recommendation of $5.95 million. What we have left to do is determine when we're going to do it.
After a lot of back and forth in my own mind and hearing from a lot of people that thought we should have it as part of the April town election, and people who thought we should have it later, and the pros and cons, and thinking back to the discussion and the points we made, or at least I made last week, that I thought it was time that we have a good, solid community discussion about level of services and what an override meant or did not mean to the community. I've concluded in my mind that it's best that we do, in fact, hold a special election later in the year, not at the April annual election. And I would recommend, if we're going to stick with the typical Mondays when our town elections are, because we could call it for any day we choose, but I would suggest June 3rd.
I also like that June date for an election on this article, because it gives us a chance to vet the topic as much as we can, have public forums, as I said before. There's a very strong lobby from one side to make this happen, but I also want everybody in town, the marginally employed people and the retired people, I want the whole town to understand exactly what it means to pass it. So,
With members of the Public and Budget Balancing Committee in the chambers, and after much discussion, Selectman Plasko made a motion.
To move it along in a formal manner, why don't I make a motion that we adopt that language subject to review by town council
And the Department of Revenue.
and the Department of Revenue, and then we'll bring it back to
Okay,
say
we can do that anyway.
it passed muster or needs to be amended.
Okay.
I'll second
All right.
that also, sir.
All right, that's fair. Anything further on the motion regarding the language of the proposal that will be on the ballot on June 3rd? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. All right.
The next Board of Selectmen meeting will be Tuesday, February 12th at 7 p.m. Also on Tuesday, the Zoning Board of Appeals moved their meeting to Memorial Hall to accommodate residents who wish to be heard on Case 18-26, the proposed condo development at 253 Manhattan Street, which formerly housed the St. Catherine's Convent.
We had a great deal of discussion about the project, about some of the concerns of the neighbors. I know that among the concerns were concerns about how this project would fit on the site and how it would affect other properties surrounding it. As you know, this property is surrounded on 3 sides by residential uses and on one side by the St. Catherine's School property. There was also some question about what the proposed buildings would look like, and so we have the architect with us, and he will make a presentation on that.
After hearing from the applicants, Chairman Mulvihill opened the meeting up for public discussion. Members of the public had concerns about the size of the project, the location, and one resident voiced his concern about a possible abandoned lead mine that was on the property at the turn of the 20th century. After hearing the concerns of the public, the board voted to continue the hearing to February 19th at 8 p.m. On Wednesday night, Stuart Saginaw of the Community Preservation Coalition of Boston presented to Norwood's Community Preservation Committee. He covered a wide range of topics, one of which being the application process.
You know, you would be one of the few who's actually going to use a formal scoring sheet. I actually brought a sample of one that Groton was, I think, the first one to do that. This is a shot from their community preservation plan. They have a scoring process which is explained on the criteria is explained on the pages before that. And then they actually, put scores in there for each of the members of the CPC and then add them up, and they do it that way. This is pretty unusual, but it works for them. They've been doing it for years and it works really well. A lot of folks, change their evaluation along the way too. There's nothing wrong with, this is your first time scoring a big group of projects and trying to fit all the needs into a budget for that year, as well as figuring out how they apply against your community preservation plan. And you'll go through this process, and there'll be points at which individuals get frustrated with it or feel like it doesn't work. It's kind of an evolving thing, so it's okay to try a scoring system and see how that works for you. And the one thing you wouldn't want to do is change it in midstream. You sort of want to go through the process and then have a discussion. A lot of communities over the summer discuss what worked in our application process. Did we get the deadlines right? We ran out of time. We got to move up the deadlines a little bit. Summertime is a good time to sort of do a review of what you did this year and whether it worked, and then make the changes before you accept the applications next time.
Later in the meeting, the committee and Mr. Saganor discussed properties that the CPC was reviewing. One specific property was the old skate park in South Norwood.
So the recreation department does feel that having this area would be good for their summer recreation program.
Yep.
And then the school might also use it.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that's...
It's a picture of the site.
Yeah, so the thing that makes it a kind of a slam dunk to be okay is it's on dedicated recreational land. So...
You can see where the school is.
Yeah, right there, yep. So that's a terrific project in my mind, just as a, not from a advice perspective, but just from a
practicality.
Yeah, a qualitative issue rather than the legalities of it, because you can serve two purposes here, and it would still be okay if it was on the school property, but if it was then really going to be used almost exclusively as an outdoor classroom, that's not really a CPA recreational project. It's on school property, which doesn't automatically trigger it, but it's not a playground either that folks are going to use in the summer or after school. So, but the fact that it's kind of the recreation department feels it integrates well with the whole recreation area and it's on the recreation land, that's perfect.
The Conservation Commission held their meeting Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. The commission met with representatives of DCD Realty seeking a notice of intent for their project located 84 Moore Street. Vanderbilt Realty Ventures also appeared before the Conservation Commission for a notice of intent for a project at 290 Vanderbilt Ave. Weston and Sampson also had an appointment with the Conservation Commission representing Norwood Light Broadband. Weston and Sampson requested approval of a minor change at the 136 Access Road site. The next Conservation Commission meeting will be Wednesday, February 20th at 7:30. Thursday night, the PBCC held a short 37-minute meeting in room 12 of Town Hall. During the meeting, the committee discussed an update on the Norwood Light Building project and gave an update on the chapel project. They also continued their public hearing from January 16th, which covered wetlands protection and regulations. The next meeting for the PBCC will be February 22nd. To watch complete government coverage, tune into the NCM Government channel or watch it on demand at norwoodcommunitymedia.org. Stay tuned after this break to find out what is happening in your schools. Welcome back. Now let's toss it over to our good friend Tim Rose to find out what is happening around the Norwood School District.
Hi guys, let's take a look at some activities happening in our Norwood schools this week. The third graders at the Balch School in Mrs. Kayer's class learned how to build a complete electrical circuit. Mr. Goulart from the science department came to the room to provide the lesson, and it was amazing for the students to be able to turn the light bulbs in their circuits on and off all by themselves. Norwood High School students interested in biomedical science recently went on a field trip to the Siemens Healthineers in Walpole. Siemens is a leading medical technology company with over 170 years of experience and 18,000 patents globally. They have over 48,000 employees in over 70 countries, whose purpose is to expand precision medicine and digitalizing healthcare. Students were able to go into the labs and get hands-on experience working in a professional lab setting, creating a test solution that the company uses in their products. Students and staff at the Callahan School celebrated World Read Aloud on Friday, February 1st. This is the 10th year for this celebration, and 173 countries currently participate. The mission of this day is to call attention to the importance of sharing stories. The Callahan students in grade 5 participated by reading aloud to grade 1. Both the 5th graders and 1st graders enjoyed their time together and sharing favorite books. Mrs. Drucker read aloud to students in grades 2, 3, and 4. Several classrooms had mystery readers of parents and grandparents. Mrs. Barr's 2nd grade class had author Cynthia Platt Skype into their classroom. Cynthia Platt read aloud her book, Pandemonium. After the read, students were allowed to ask questions and hear her book recommendations. It was a great experience that the students really enjoyed. In addition, the Callahan School held their 2nd annual Super Bowl Challenge. Yes, soup as in S-O-U-P. With this community service project, the students collected 775 cans to be donated to the Norwood Food Pantry. 2nd grade was crowned this year's Super Bowl champs, collecting 300 cans. Students in grade 2 received certificates and light-up Super Bowl rings. At the Prescott School, Principal Brian Riley spent some time with the 1st graders when they were working in their ELA centers. ELA centers happen in nearly all classrooms where students rotate between different centers or stations to work on a variety of skills. For example, in the 1st grade classroom, some students were working with the teachers on foundations work, others were reading aloud a text on the iPad through RazKids, and others were working together to act out a play. Readers Theater is the chance for kids to read and act out a short story. This helps young readers with things like inflection while they read, as well as comprehension, because they literally have to make the story come alive. In this classroom, students work to create a background and masks in the previous unit on environments. Last Thursday, to celebrate the culmination of their map unit, the 4th graders at the Cleveland School celebrated X Marks the Spot. Mrs. Wesley's classroom was transformed into a magical island. All 3 4th grade classes dressed up as cartographers and made maps and treasure chests. Cartographers were very important in the years of exploration, which spanned from 980 to 1600. They were important because they documented the new places that explorers discovered by making maps. The teachers filled these chests with treasures and invited the 5th graders to practice their map skills by reading the 4th graders' maps and finding the treasure chests. Students learned about longitude and latitude as well as map symbols and directions. We're happy to report that all treasure chests were found, and the cartographers shared their bounty with the 5th graders. Other activities included completing a nautical word search and playing Battleship. At the end of the day, the island was open for parents to visit. At the Balch School, the hallways are vibrant passageways because of the amazing artwork that Mrs. Bailey does with her students. And here, the 5th graders are using Chromebooks during a math class at their own pace in their chosen spaces. Friday was Patriots Pride Day, and students and teachers competed for the most spirited fan prizes from the Balch PTO. And finally, special recognition to 5 Balch students for reading all 10 of the Norwood Young Readers Award titles over the past 3 months. Congratulations to 5th graders Dylan Begley and Isabella Morgan, and 4th graders Megan Weefer, Avery Truman, and Sophie Brogadier. At the Coakley, the school held their weekly Positive Sign Thursday, where Principal Margot Frasick and her staff let the students know that they are worth their highest effort. They are worth the many years in college, student teaching, late nights, early mornings, chaperoning, and club running. The students learn that they are truly worth it. Great job, Principal Frasick. Well, that's it for school news this week, and thank you for watching. Now let's go to Brian Dunn with the latest sports news.
What's going on, everybody? Brian Dunn here for a quick update on Norwood sports. With teams punching their ticket to the postseason tournament and moving on to individual postseason performances, we're in the home stretch of the winter season. Let's get started with catching you up on hoops over the past week. The girls team, after a quick losing stint, bounced back in a major way. They traveled to Bellingham to take on the Blackhawks and returned to form in a 63-22 victory over Bellingham. The boys hoops team were not as fortunate this week, as they as well played Bellingham, but played hosts inside the Norwood High School gym. A hard-fought battle goes in favor of the Blackhawks 53-33. The boys hockey team battled Holliston and took care of business from puck drop to the final whistle. Another high-scoring affair for the Mustangs as they downed Holliston 7-0. That, my friends, was a ticket punch into the MIAA tournament. Congratulations to the team and the seniors this year. Let's finish strong, gentlemen. Girls hockey looks to stay on pace to join the boys in the postseason action this season. They suffer a minor setback and look to bounce back after a recent loss at Dedham 4-1. The gymnastics team officially concludes the regular season portion of the year on an extremely high note. A win over Medway 138.2 to 114.5 caps off an 8-1 regular season for the Mustangs. Job well done. And with sectionals for both wrestling and swim and dive right around the corner this weekend, I want to give you a preview of what to keep an eye out for. We have a loaded lineup on the mat this weekend as 12 wrestlers will be in the postseason showcase. After their tri-meet sweep last time out, the Mustangs are going into the postseason with strong momentum and ready for the challenge ahead. Best of luck to them as they hit the mat this weekend. And in the pool, the swim and dive team has some representation at not only sectionals but states. Michaela Hurley qualifies for the 100 breaststroke. Senior captain Michaela Jordan qualifies for sectionals and states in the 100 breaststroke. The relay teams are well represented as well. Megan Sopel, Haley Burrows, and Maeve O'Connor will be competing in those. Good luck to our swim team this weekend, and we look forward to hearing the results. And I want to congratulate now former Mustang quarterback Mark Murphy on continuing his football career. As he announced a couple days ago, he'll be strapping the pads for Mass Maritime Academy starting next year. Much deserved, Mark, and go Bucks. And that's all for sports this week. As always, for schedules and scores, head over to norwoodmustangs.com and follow NHS_Mustangs on Twitter. Now back to Kristen with more Norwood news.
Thanks, Brian. With February starting, we send it over to Town Manager Tony Mazzucco, who will catch you up on what happened in Norwood during the month of January and what to expect for this month.
Hi folks, Town Manager Tony Mazzucco here with my monthly update. The Morrill Memorial Library is again competing this year in the Boston Bruins Cradles to Crayons Pajama Drive. Each year, libraries across the state accept donations of new pajamas for youth of all ages from age 0 to 18 to help kids in Massachusetts have safe and warm pajamas. This year, we're helping out the library, and we're directly challenging the town of Bourne, who donates the most pajamas every year. We're getting the entire community and all town departments involved, and we've adopted a hashtag for our campaign on social media, hashtag #BeatBourne. You can drop off new pajamas at any town facility from now until March 15th. Contact the library or the general manager's office for more details, and let's beat Bourne. Progress continues at the new light department facility with more work being done each week. The construction trailer is now on site, and the project is moving ahead on time and on budget. This past week, I had the privilege of watching the Norwood High School civics class compete in Boston at the Edward M. Kennedy Institute in the We the People, the Citizen and the Constitution event. The civics class participates in this program every year, and it was a pleasure to watch them compete. Kudos to 4 of our students who took home a unit award this year. The town has released its FY 2020 Capital Improvement Plan, which is available on the town's website. The CIP lists out capital projects for the current year and future years and is an important tool in the town's budgeting process. The Capital Outlay Committee met this week to start their review of the plan in order to make recommendations to town meeting for later this year. I encourage you to check out our plan on the town's website. The town is saying goodbye to longtime Human Resources Director Michelle Peasy. Michelle has been with the town for over 15 years and recently accepted a great position with the City of Newton. We will certainly miss her, but we wish her well. The town is starting the process to find our new Human Resources Director and hopes to have somebody on board by April. The Winter Concert Series is going great, and we've had high attendance at the last few concerts, and 2 more are scheduled this year. On February 10th, we'll have the Roy Scott Big Band, and on February 17th, we'll have the Tom Newtile Band. All winter concerts are free of charge and are Sundays from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the high school auditorium. The Norwood Police Department is holding their annual Citizens Police Academy from March 4th to April 29th. For more information on this program, visit the Police Department website or contact Sergeant Tom Carey at the Norwood Police Department, 781-440-5162, or tcarey@norwoodma.gov. That's tcarey@norwoodma.gov. And last but not least, the Norwood Police Department is holding a police entrance exam on Saturday, April 20th at Norwood High School. Anyone interested in becoming a police officer in Norwood should plan on taking the exam. More information for that is available on the police department's website.
Thanks, Tony. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Next week, registration opens for the spring and summer programming at the Norwood Recreation Department. For more on how to register, we go to Recreation Superintendent Travis Farley.
Hi Norwood, Travis Farley here, the Norwood Recreation Director. I just wanted to take a moment to share our spring-summer guide with everybody. You should have received it in your households last week, but it's everything that we have on offering from March to August. Our registration for all these fun events starts next week, February 13th on Wednesday. You can register online or you can come into the Civic to register, but everything from Touch a Truck to our duck race to our Easter egg hunt to our famous play camp program to swim lessons to pool information you'll find in this guide. So please check it out. If you have any questions, just contact the Civic Center. Look on Facebook. The guide itself is actually on our town website as well. So we hope you take advantage. Next Wednesday, February 13th, please look online, register. If you have any questions, just contact the Civic. Thank you very much, and we hope you enjoy our offerings.
Thanks, Travis. Looks like the residents of Norwood have a lot of fun activities to choose from this summer. Well, that's all for Norwood News. To stay up to date with Norwood Community Media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend.